Have you ever woken up from a dream that was so vivid, so real, you actually had to take a second to check your surroundings? Well, we're about to break down a story that takes that exact feeling and turns it into an absolute masterpiece of suspense. This one will make you question the very ground you're standing on. It all starts with this one line. Seriously, this is the key that unlocks the whole puzzle. Our main character says he never smells things in his dreams. But this one's different. It's thick with the humid, heavy smell of a swamp and something else, something he calls the smell of war.
All right, so before we go any further, we have to talk about the mastermind behind all this. A literary magician who just loved to pull the rug out from under his readers and completely dismantle their sense of reality.
So this is Julio Cortázar. And you got to understand, he wasn't just a writer, he was more like an architect of alternate realities. He had this belief that the real truth about our lives isn't found in the day-to-day stuff, but in those bizarre, unexplainable moments that just shatter all the rules we thought we knew. This is his signature move, you know? A Cortázar story will start in a world that feels totally normal, totally recognizable. But then he'll inject something weird, something that shouldn't be possible. And it forces us, the readers, to question everything. He's always digging for what's hiding just beneath the surface. So just keep that in mind as we go. With this guy, nothing is ever what it seems. Okay, so the story kicks off in a world that feels completely normal, totally real. For our purposes, let's just call this reality number 1.
We don't even get a name for our main guy. He's just a man on his motorcycle, cruising down a nice sunny street. Everything is bright, it's familiar, it's just a totally ordinary day. He's enjoying the breeze, the sights, no big deal.
And then, bam, chaos. In a split second, a woman just walks right into his path. He slams on the brakes, the bike lurches violently, and everything just goes black. It's this sudden, violent jolt that rips him right out of that peaceful afternoon. He comes to with the taste of blood and salt in his mouth. Next thing you know, he's in the clean, logical world of an ambulance, and then an emergency room. He's got a broken arm, a cut on his eyebrow. Yeah, it's painful and confusing, but it's all recognizable. It's a reality we can all understand.
But as he's lying there in his hospital bed, kind of drifting in and out of a feverish sleep, this second reality starts to bleed through the cracks. And you guessed it, we're going to call this one reality number 2. Now this is where the dream gets really specific, and frankly terrifying. He dreams he's a Monotech man who's been caught in something called the Flower War. Now, this wasn't a war for land or anything like that. The Aztecs fought these wars for one reason and one reason only: to capture people for human sacrifice. So this is the key detail. Getting caught in this dream means you are not waking up. Suddenly, he's not in a hospital bed. He's running for his life through this dark, suffocating jungle. The air is so thick with the smell of the swamp and this sickly sweet scent that he just calls the smell of war. He's terrified, clutching a little stone dagger, just desperately trying to get away from his hunters. And, well, he doesn't make it. He's captured. They tie him up with ropes, and he's dragged through this pitch-black, dripping passageway deep inside some kind of temple. And all the while, he can hear the drums of a ceremony getting closer and closer. The terror he feels is more real than anything he's ever experienced. This quote just perfectly captures his desperation, right? He is so convinced that this is all just some awful fever dream, and he's clawing to get back to the safety of that hospital bed, back to the world where he thinks he's awake. But here is where Cortázar starts to really mess with us. What happens when your anchor to reality starts to slip? What happens when the supposed nightmare becomes more vivid, more sensory than the world you're so desperately trying to wake up to? And this is exactly how he does it. I mean, just look at this. On one side, you've got the hospital. It has the faint, clean smell of antiseptic, the taste of some bland broth. But on the other side, you've got the jungle, with the overwhelming stench of rot and the raw taste of pure terror. You've got the doctor's steel scalpel versus the priest's stone knife, the soft bed versus the cold stone. Which one of those sounds more intense? Which one feels more real? So he keeps jumping back and forth between these two worlds. But with every single jump, the hospital gets fainter, a little blurrier, more dreamlike, and the jungle becomes terrifyingly present. And that brings us to the final gut punch of a twist. As he's being carried up towards that sacrificial stone, he tries one last time to force himself to wake up. And then the realization hits him like a physical blow.
He's not going to wake up because he is awake. The hospital, the motorcycle, the modern city, that was the dream.
The entire story we've just been told has been completely flipped on its head. That safe, modern world with the motorcycle accident, that was just a wonderful, bizarre, fleeting dream. The horrific reality was always the jungle, the hunt, and the sacrificial knife waiting for him at the top of the pyramid.
And that's the unsettling thought Cortázar leaves us with. The story ends, but that question just hangs in the air. He forces us to look at our own solid, stable world and ask ourselves, how can you be so sure that this is the reality, and not just the beautiful, absurd dream you're having right before you wake up?